Hello, I'm Justin Wheeler, and welcome to this episode of Nonstop Nonprofit. Welcome back, nonprofit friends. Nonstop Nonprofit has a whole new season ahead, and we're kicking it off with a compilation series loaded with live interviews from AFP ICON 2022. Hang out at our booth with us and talk to nonprofit's brightest stars about trends, impact, and the future of fundraising. As a bonus, we're capping this series off with the best clips from last season. So if you're new to the podcast, stick with us. You'll get all the goods in a fraction of the time. Episode 1 of our compilation series features Francesco Ambroschetti, Kashana Palmer, Summer Brock, and Jarrett Ransom. Let's dive in. It is your number one priority to ensure that your business can continue to deliver on its mission, whether it's this year, next year, and beyond.
So we're creating this inclusive environment, building between diverse communities to ensure that our young people can thrive.
I'm always so baffled when I do webinars. There's always somebody at the end who raises their hand and says, I'm the development director. Should I have access to the budget? I'm always like, yes, you've got to know that.
The best thing you can ever do as a nonprofit leader is spend as much money as possible on your story.
Then you're doing it wrong.
Okay.
That is unacceptable, and that is not the way to run a board.
The best thing that we can do is just raise as much money as possible and then give it to the people around the world.
If you're going to be sustainable, you have to have a multi-channel strategy to reach all of these different generations of donors however they want to be reached.
One of the principal values that we carry as an organization is to lift grace over guilt. And we believe that grace is the greatest agent for change that anyone can ever experience.
We all need each other in terms of other nonprofits working together to solve things.
The more nonprofits can give their donor base that experience of the impact that's being made on the ground level, there's nothing else you have to give someone. This is Nonstop Nonprofit. In our first segment, Francesco Ambroschetti, UNICEF's principal advisor of innovative and alternative finance for children, gives his take on the importance of donor engagement and global growth through financial innovation. Francesco, thank you so much for joining the podcast this morning.
For having me.
Absolutely. So before we jump into some of the topics today, can you tell us a little bit about what you do at UNICEF?
Yes, I was, until a few weeks ago, the supporter engagement lead worldwide. So substantially coordinating the experience of our donors, volunteers, and social media followers. And in a couple of weeks ago, I've been just moved to being the director of Innovative Finance for Children. It's a new broad area that includes mainstream investments, so all the ETFs, mutual funds, bonds, but also all the new modalities that include crypto and NFTs.
Okay. So I do want to talk about that, but maybe we'll go back to your old role first,
right,
to talk about donor experience.
Right.
How much of a priority do you think nonprofits need to be putting on experience for their donors, supporters, volunteers? You know, I mean, it was your job, so obviously UNICEF prioritizes it. But why is this so important today?
Well, it is important in general. Let's put it like that. Commercial world is obsessed about improving the experience, you know? Every time you buy, download, go to a concert, the first thing you got, how was the experience from 1 to 10? How often you recommend to your friends? And why do you do that?
Yep.
Because that's your single source of growth. You're not growing acquiring new customers or, offering better price. You're acquiring because you get a bunch of loyal customers. It's the problem with Netflix now that they found out that actually their customers are not that loyal. So in non-profit sector, as you know, we are very good in acquiring because it's easy. It's a transactional. I can just repeat this transaction, ask you to do more, and so on. But as a cost, and as you can see, all data point that our retention is terrible.
Yeah.
So it costs so much more to acquire a donor than to retain it. So in the previous role, the idea was, can we embrace this customer experience culture? And it's a struggle. It's a struggle because, it's a different way to measure. It's a long-term investment, but it's definitely yield much more money. Just to give you one data, when we start measuring those donors, they say they are satisfied of the experience they do and they are committed. These two indicators are leading to a much better lifetime and retention of donors. So if you start bothering, asking and measuring, then you're going to start see the change.
Yeah. Is there a specific tool that you're using to actually measure that feedback from the donors?
We do it through surveys and in different shape and forms, and then we plugged into our CRM.
Okay.
But it's not that spread. We just started first, and this is across all Latin America. There's like 15 markets. It clearly just lead indicator. So it's a survey at the beginning of sign up, or through telephones when we start to welcome donors. And then we just keep measuring back potentially after each experience.
Yeah, that makes sense. At Funraise, we measure sort of customer satisfaction. It's called Net Promoter Score, right? Like how likely are you to promote Funraise? And it's an indicator. It doesn't necessarily mean the customer is gonna stay loyal or remain loyal. At the end of the day, like their needs have to be met.
Right.
And so I'm curious, is there how do you aggregate when you survey individual donors? Is there some sort of scoring mechanism that you use to kind of aggregate and score your entire donor base, or is this more on an individual level that you look at?
Well, look, first of all, let's give me an opportunity to shamelessly say that in my book that is called Octane of Filling, there is a part that is devoted to how to measure and what makes a difference. So Net Promoter Score is one of them. As you know, it's been heavily criticized in terms of productivity. But my point is, if this sector will embrace some sort of measure, it's better than nothing.
Yes.
So our system is pretty simple because it's 1 to 5 level of commitment, 1 to 5 level of satisfaction. And then it ends up basically being 4 quadrants. People are highly committed, high satisfied, low committed, low satisfaction. And each of them, apart from being a scorer, is automated an action, which that's what is important thing. So because there are different people that's highly satisfied and high commitment that deserve a certain type of care.
Yeah.
People that bother to tell you that they are not satisfied, that require immediate action and feedback. So it's pretty simple, but very effective in terms of predictability and actionability, which is, for me, what a system should be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, organization your guys' size, lots of donors, lots of records. And so I would imagine that there's a very strong emphasis from a culture perspective of systematizing and operationalizing these types of things.
Up to a point.
Up to a point.
But first of all, we are extremely decentralized organization. So we call it national committees, an independent and 501c3. So and then we have our country offices. They are the one based in emerging markets. So there's a very spread level of sophistication. And also a lot of jealousy to not share much data for privacy reasons.
Yeah.
So we definitely not there. We try to inspire and benchmark as much as we care, we want. Again, I mean, for me, culturally, for the size of UNICEF, I would like to say that we are just there, but we're still on a transaction base. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Like all the sector. It's easy to acquire new donor, charging, asking upgrade. We are still in that mentality. So that part is relatively new.
Okay.
And so in terms of systematization, I'm glad that we now approve, like I said, 15 countries in Latin America, same operation that now can just say, okay, what is the score of commitment and satisfaction? How this is connected to the lifetime value or the value? This is already a good start.
Yeah.
Moving that globally, it's a different story. There's a lot of resistance. Local chapter don't like global systematization.
Yeah, I can see that. One more question on this topic, then we'll move on. Can you point to a single maybe strategy that has increased retention aside from just measuring sort of the satisfaction of your donors? Is there something specific that UNICEF has done to beat the terrible retention rates that the industry has become accustomed to?
There are many things. Again, my book has more example on this, especially from UNICEF, because before this role, I was also the director of fundraising and marketing in UNICEF in Italy. And you'll be surprised by one of the single leading retention indicators being a birthday call. So we start calling donors, scoring them, of course, based on their potential, and making a simple call to say, special day, you're important for us, happy birthday. If you compare two groups, same size, same story, same level of giving, this group that received the birthday call has 5 times lifetime value, 5 times retention.
Wow.
And so we just mainstream. Sounds simple.
Yeah.
But that's how we beat the competition, if you want, with a single birthday call. Oh, WhatsApp.
And do you use your own team for those calls?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing. 5x better retention. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're sitting on a new team.
Right.
Talk to us a little bit about what the new role looks like and what you're excited about in this role.
Well, it is very exciting. I mean, I've been sort of doing this double role in the last few years because I've been my history always been like, I mean, what we do and philanthropy is great, but ours is limitation, right? How much people you're going to convince to give money. And if you look at the data, very few. We haven't grown the pie, you know? And you can see from every angle, but still, you know, that number of people. And out there is a trillions of money that goes everywhere. Spaceships and acquiring Twitter or whatever you want to call it. Startups that fail miserably. That resources will be desperately needed to us, right? Because unless you're going to say that, you know, finding a cure for cancer or eliminating poverty is less important than acquiring Twitter or going to the space, right?
Yeah.
So how come that we are so limited? And this is Dan Pallotta, if you remember, one of these points is we undermine ourselves. There is a big lock on trillions dollar capital market that we cannot access because we cannot reward. So if somebody gives you money, we cannot reward it. We cannot take the risk in taking the money if we lose them. And so we just literally just rely on the money we raise, right?
Yeah.
How much money are you going to raise to fundraise? Depends how much you raise. If you raise that much, you can get that much. It's simple. We're not growing. So my new role that is called Innovative Finance for Children is trying to just say, how can we get the capital markets and all these trillions of dollars really make a difference for children in our case. And this is not going to be writing checks or giving online. This is going to be financial products. That means somebody will going to give the money expecting some return, some reward, and taking some risks.
Yeah.
And so do UNICEF. So if you want to do that, you have to just give some reward and take some risks, right? Because it's a mix. And so in this is a big area that means mainstream investments that are products that today, you know, our 401k is invested in, ETFs, mutual funds, bonds, and all the new breed of crypto and NFTs that is completely new, separate word. So all these things is like, can we just match? And you know why we do that? It's not because it's fancy, it's new, it's cool. Because number one, it can be substantially accelerate what we do.
Yeah.
One thing is just say, I need $4 billion to eliminate poly from the world. How long is it going to take to raise $4 billion? One thing is just say, well, the market can give me $4 billion and I'm going to pay back in 10 years.
Yeah.
So we can accelerate, we can grow what we do today. One thing is just say, I need this thing to enlarge my service. And third, I can really innovate and take some risk, right? Sometimes that, you know, things that we cannot do because, God forbid, fail, I can maybe do with the market. So this is a new area of work with a lot of resistance again, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool.
In regards to getting more access to the capital markets, would you consider also like debt in there as a vehicle?
100%.
Yeah.
And in fact, I mean, I can reveal that we are now in we have to ask to the General Assembly of the United Nations, because we are a UN body, to change the rule to take on debt, because that's the most single.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you imagine, you know, for me it's incredible that. Every company grow through that, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we don't.
Yeah. It's actually this is a super fascinating, something I'm really interested in as because I mean, you know, I started Funraise and we've raised equity, we've raised debt. Without those, we wouldn't be where we're at today. We wouldn't have scaled and hit that growth. And so like I've gone down this line of thinking that how do we make access to these capital markets easier for nonprofits, right? Because nonprofits are looked at, especially smaller ones, as like high risk. And so it's super interesting that you guys are kind of pioneering this pathway.
Yeah, and so again, last year, one of the things I'm going to talk in my session, I managed to launch the first ever bond, which is a debt, of $100 million through Citibank and World Bank. And this bond, the proceeds, will go to fundraising in emerging markets. So Thailand, Uruguay, Brazil, growth. So
interesting.
The interesting part is a no-recourse bond. Means there's no guarantee to the investors other than the money we're going to raise in 5 years.
Yeah.
which is a risk. They take a risk.
Yeah.
The rewards is the impact, because of course every dollar we're going to invest, they're going to make at least 3, so it will be 3 times the impact. For UNICEF is $100 million that otherwise we would have taken from the budget. So you see, that's what I'm saying. You know, why you want to use your grant money to grow while the market and the market bring you new breed of investors that maybe can also consider to become your donor.
Interesting. So in 10 years from now, where do you see this sort of concept going? Do you think that this becomes more accessible to nonprofits? Do you think investors start getting more interested in investing, looking at nonprofits as investment opportunities, not just philanthropic opportunities?
They already do. There are no many opportunities. There are billions of dollars, trillions of dollars that people say, can I invest? I'm happy to take a risk. Tell me how many bonds that non-profit has in the market. Tell me how many ETFs non-profit has in the market that the investor can do. So investors are there. We are not there. I think it's a sort of Darwinian process, if I can say, because just those that dare to get there will survive if you want to grow. If you want to grow. And the same for the startups. I really hope a new breed of startups will come with this concept. And what I see in 10 years, I really see to really see more the financing of all this that needs acceleration, needs growth coming from the market. They also bring more discipline, brings more risk. But also, my ultimate dream is to have a stock market, or being in a stock market, because in the end, our cause deserve that be owned and financed by the public.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I think we should go.
Yeah. One more question, and then I have a few rapid fire questions for you. Going back to donor experience and sort of the risks that the perceived risks, or not perceived, the real risks that you are taking in the capital markets. Do these things ever conflict? When donors learn about this, does it scare them away? Do they think it's not wise? Have you guys had to interact or course correct there at all with
To
donors?
be honest, I mean, at least my experience is more internal.
Okay.
Internally, you got, oh my God, this is not right, this is not ethical. It's all internal debate.
Yeah.
We haven't got one single donor that complain.
Okay.
Also because the donor support UNICEF. So if transparently I say your money will be generating 3 times more, basically no risk, why the donor should be again. I don't think there is actually a backlash. It's very much an internal debate, and from the investor point of view, they want to invest in us. They are just scared that we are so against risk. We are so against rewards. We are making so much deal. So I don't see a donor backlash in that. Quite the contrary. Actually, our donors could also invest in our project, right? Can donate.
Totally.
But also can just say, why don't your ETF, your 401k is invested in our mission? Its capital is protected and you help us advance.
Actually, I did think of another question that is something I've thought a lot about. And at one point, Charity Water did, so obviously working in a nonprofit, you're typically sacrificing compensate on the compensation side and no upside, right? No upside. Like you could solve poverty and not benefit at all from that. I think that needs to change.
Absolutely.
Because it brings the right talent to the organization when there's upside and when there's better compensation. Do you think we'll ever get to a point where working in a nonprofit could be comparable to working in a for-profit, like a startup or a company where you can get equity in? Do you think that we will ever see the nonprofit community in that way, so that nonprofit employees can share in the upside and share in that potential future growth?
The honest answer is I don't know. I see a lot again of internal resistance of a culture. It's the same. Dan Pallotta say the same, right? One of the other obstacles, we cannot attract talent because we cannot pay them right. Well, we should pay them more because we are solving much bigger problem than we work, just to mention, right? But
totally.
So can we get there? I don't think so. I mean, as it is, the sector today is very much. I mean, look at the salary they're proposing, and We have a problem in attract. In my area, that is highly sophisticated finance and digital. We have problems in attracting talents because obviously we're not competitive enough.
Yeah.
So I think it's part of the same mentality and culture. I think it's harder to change that part comparing to at least they understand and engage with the market, get some money. Will be easier than changing this reward mentality. But it's part of the same. It's part of the same obstacle exactly. So how can you engage with in a financial space, digital space, if you can attract the right talent?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and I often say many times nonprofits have to operate with two hands tied behind their back. Yeah. It's hard to scale. It's hard to grow. And even more hard to retain great employees because of how competitive it has gotten in the workforce.
Absolutely.
All right, a few more rapid fire questions. Right. There's no wrong or right answer here. I'm just going to ask some questions and you just respond to them. Movies or series?
Personally?
Yeah. Do you like movies or series better?
Series.
Series. Tacos or cheeseburgers?
That's very American. Sorry. Tacos.
The beach or the mountains?
Beach.
All day, every day for me. Digital reading or an actual book?
Digital reading.
Digital reading? Okay. Ice cream or froyo? Also very American.
Ice cream.
Or gelato?
Gelato.
Okay. Football or football?
Football mean American football or soccer?
So football would be American football. Football with a U would be
soccer.
Yeah, soccer. And then actually, that's all I got.
Great.
Sorry, a couple of those were too American, but thank you for participating.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Next up, we've got Kashana Palmer, a nonprofit leadership expert, keynote speaker, and fellow podcaster. Gives her take on how technology is going to factor into the future of nonprofit leadership and sings a little bit of Disney. Kashana, thank you so much for stopping by the Funraise booth and talking shop.
Always a good time when we get together.
I know. I can't believe it's the first time we've met in person.
I know.
But I blame the pandemic for that.
That's it. But this ends today. So now when I find myself on the West Coast, I'm going to be like, hello, what are we doing?
Absolutely.
We'll
show you a good time in LA.
That's what I like.
So a few questions for you.
Let's do it.
Maybe before we jump into the juicy stuff. Just give us I'd love to hear a little bit about what you're thinking here in 2022, just as it relates to nonprofits, fundraising.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you're most excited about, either iterating on top of or working with your clients?
So what I see right now happening has been so curious to me is that we talked coming into the pandemic about the leadership shift that was supposed to be happening. Folks were retiring, folks were stepping down from their roles. And so we were supposed to see this big leadership shift. And because of the pandemic, folks were like, hold on a second, wait a minute. Let me stay in place. Let's figure this thing out. And so what I'm seeing now, particularly with my clients around talent, is that folks are starting to shift again back into okay, I'm ready to step down. I'm ready to transfer leadership. Who am I transferring leadership to? Who needs to be in the leadership seat? And so really helping folks to understand how to navigate the changes, and that younger professionals who are coming into the sector are coming in with more education earlier on. They're credentialing earlier on. They are more tech savvy and excited about leveraging technology to do their work and wanting to align with organizations that are moving in more of an innovative way as opposed to in a catch me if you can and catch up kind of way. So those are some of the things that I'm seeing right now with organizations and the work I do.
Very interesting. Yeah, I've definitely seen something similar. And what I've really liked is, aside from the fundraising and the marketing, seeing organizations actually really leveraging technology for their programs.
Yep.
Talking to an individual earlier who they delivered goods and services across the world, and during COVID they couldn't do that. And so they started using drones to drop off these goods and services.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, really, really cool. And so my hope is that this type of innovation will continue just to accelerate, because I think it's going to make stronger, more successful organizations.
Absolutely. And I think that organizations who make the choice, so this point is now a choice to not and I would say leverage technology, and there's things that are tech enabled and there are things that are tech activating in order to be able to do their work, in order to be able to exercise and activate mission, are going to get left behind. And I think that we just don't have the luxury of doing things the same old anymore.
Absolutely. So going back to like the leadership pipeline, going back maybe, I think it's been 2 years.
Yeah, which feels like forever.
It does feel like forever. And being in person again, it feels like, it's like hard to be like, how do you be social? Like, I kind of forget how to be social. But the question about the leadership pipeline is, it seems like it's a prime opportunity for organizations in 2020 following the death of George Floyd.
That's right.
Where we, talked very aggressively about DEI initiatives.
Woo!
And,
it was so aggressive.
And made big, bold statements and
big
mandates.
Statements, bold statements.
And so you think that with a leadership sort of transition, that this would be a great opportunity to really embrace some of those actions. Have you seen that actually manifest?
Mm-hmm.
Are we moving forward? Have we moved backwards? What's your perception?
I think that we're moving backward, or at least in quicksand, and here's why. What I saw in 2008 when we had the market crash the last time was that folks of color, and particularly Black women, and I identify with that because I'm a Black woman, are typically moved into positions of power at a time of real crisis, and then are under-resourced, have helicopter runways to fly 747s, and we call that the glass cliff. And so you're in a situation where you get this transfer of power, but you get this transfer of power without runway or without the purse. And so what I'm seeing right now is, as organizations are trying to figure out like what's next, folks who were put into those positions in a manner of crisis, who weren't successful for many of the reasons, and success is subjective, but who weren't successful, are sort of being blamed like, well, we could have done something different. And so there's a reticence in being able to actually really step out and do the kind of recruitment, do the kind of scaffolding, do the kind of succession planning that would actually make true some of the promises that foundations and institutions and organizations and tech firms and so forth made during the height of, I call it freshman year of the pandemic, particularly around protests with Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd. So what I would like to see is organizations not just throw stuff at the wall and hope something sticks, but to actually resource the process of being able to make sure that when there's transitions of power, that they're done so really thoughtfully. And if you're going to operate from an equitable approach, understanding that you have to resource it to do it, and it takes time, and to align with professionals who can help you do that.
Are there any organizations or companies that you look at that you're like, they're doing it right? They're a good poster child, or a good organization to at least learn from that's been highly effective?
Question. I feel like a lot of the affiliated organizations are trying their best. So I look at a CIS, communities and schools. I look at what the Boys and Girls Club are doing. So the reason I'm looking at these federated larger models, because that, to me, from a footprint perspective, have lots of different smaller organizations in different populations and parts of the country where they have to answer to and address what the local climate is, in addition to what the national organization is doing. So I'm seeing a lot more learning and development money being put into federated organizations. I would love to see smaller organizations get more press. And so the reason you asked that question, I was kind of like, immediately I can think of 2 or 3 large organizations that come to mind, but they have more money for branding to be able to say, look at me, this is what I'm doing. And so smaller organizations who might be doing really amazing work, if they're not getting the press behind what it was a necessary shift in business, we wouldn't know as much about. So I got to think about that, because I feel like there are probably lots of organizations that folks will be like, and this one, when they hear this, and this one, and this one. And I'm like, did you get press on that one though? Yeah. So that's something that my team, as we do more leadership and management coaching and training this year, are really working on, is what is the research and what does that look like for the organizations that are really doing best in class work.
Okay. And are your clients, are they exclusively nonprofits, or do you work with for-profit companies as well?
No, actually, my smallest percentage of clients at Kashana & Co. right now are nonprofit. Okay. So I work with, on the nonprofit side, large, federated, complex, matrixed organizations. And so if you have affiliates, if you have spinoffs, if they're separate 501c3s, networked organizations typically is where I stand, in institutions. But most of my work, actually, believe it or not, are in tech firms, in fintech, and in cannabis.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
Okay, yeah.
And so a lot of them want to do like CSR work. They want to get into social good. They want to make sure that they're diversifying their teams alongside their values in a really healthy way. Because I come from a fundraising background, and I raise money for social ventures, which are like fast growth. You have to get in and, make sure you're leveraged really early. A lot of my donors were from the VC world, et cetera. So because I have that background, then I get hired to do like sales training and stuff like that, and my team does. So it's been a natural shift. Yeah. To move into that work, and it's been so much fun.
Is any key sort of differences between working with like a nonprofit and some of your for-profit or tech clients?
The speed at which people move and the cash they have to move it. And so a lot of times, depending on so I work with folks who have done either on their second round of raising, they've moved on from their initial raise, or they are more stable and they're starting to move into more mezzanine funding. for how they're being capitalized. And so I noticed that they'll hire lots of bright people, but they may not necessarily have the experience, time on the ground, or they are switching, or they're straight out of school. There's something there like in that sort of skill experience mix that's not quite right. And so money moves things, right?
Yeah.
I read a quote. Who said this quote? I think it's the guy who wrote the book, Who Not How.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, I'm having a
It's
brain
not
fart.
cynic. Not cynic.
No, not cynic. It's going to come to you in the shower, watch.
It's probably
Okay, so the quote, though, is,
yeah.
best I paraphrase it, like, if you have money to solve a problem, you don't have a problem.
Huh.
And what stuck with me, I don't always think that's always true, but what sticks with me in that is that what I've seen in terms of the difference between nonprofit organizations who are not as well resourced and working with fintech and tech firms who are, is the speed at which they're able to try to solve a problem.
Interesting.
And they're like, how much is it going to cost? Like, that's the question that I get them on. How much?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
long? How many? With nonprofits, I have to talk about mission alignment in a different kind of way and make the case in a different kind of way. And so it feels like, it may not be true, but it feels like working on the corporate side of folks are more apt to move because they're trying to grow.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I agree with the quote, but
you even like
also
right.
slightly
So
disagree
like,
with it. Well, this is like because the MacArthur Foundation did like a really interesting research on the negative impact grant-making foundations have in communities.
Yes,
and it's because you have people in the boardroom making decisions where money's going.
Yep,
they control the money.
Yep,
but the people on the ground, whether it's the the community organizations and so forth, they're not actually they don't have much of a say on where the funds is going to go.
Absolutely,
how it's going to be used. And so I think money solves the problem, but it's how is the money actually being facilitated?
Yeah,
is
that's
just
exactly it. Who has access to the purse? And I think I used to always say that to my team: all money is not good money. This time's for us to say no. Thank you. Oh, it's so nice. No, thank you. That we need to be able to do with folks. And so I agree with you in that nuance in that quote. And what I took from it and what I continue to take from, particularly quotes where you're like, you give a little side eye, is that like, what do I understand from what the situation is creating? And I think that right now we're in a space in the sector and in folks who service the sector. So the thing that has been such a transition for me is moving away from direct service and organizations do direct service to the companies that serve the sector.
Yeah.
So I'm able to stay a subject matter expert in the work and also understand the business that happens that is a part of the ecosystem of the work.
Yeah. What's influenced your niche, what you focus on with your business? What would you say? Is it just like the experience year after year kind of building it? Or was there anything that like happened in your life that like was transformative that you're like, this is what I want to do. I want to invest my time in skill sets and...
Gosh, I think that the thing that made me really focus on leadership and management specifically, and then really a lot on women in the work, is that there are so many overlapping, not so great things that happen to many women I know in the sector, everything from sexual harassment to discrimination around race, around gender, et cetera, to being maligned. And I was like, we got to do things better. And how many of us have not had a bad boss at like some point in our career? And I was like, we can do this better. Like this does not have to be trash. And so my lived experience alongside what my teams have experienced, and because I had the luxury to have large teams and also the gift to have large teams, I'm able to see how leadership can look when you allow folks to have room to grow and to be themselves, and when you don't. I think the other thing that's really informed my work right now, my company's work, is fun is one of our values. Core values is on our website. Like, if this is not fun, you can't come. Like, I am not interested in working with folks and having my team members work with folks where we cannot, at the end of the day, even when the work is hard, we do a lot of transformational work and change management. Like, if we're not having a good time, what's the point? What is the point?
Life's too short.
Life is too short, and there's too much good work to be done. And so that has really driven my curiosity.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's actually kind of a tangent, but side note is that's actually why I named Funraise. Funraise, dropped the D, is because I felt like if so many nonprofits, like their fundraising development teams, they're like they hide in a corner.
Oh my gosh!
And it's just
they're like those over there.
This is opportunity. Like, this is like the best part of the nonprofit industry, in my opinion, is raising funds, and
I agree.
So it should be fun. All right, so I know this is about to start the main session here. So what I want to do is this rapid fire questions.
Do it.
All right, here we go. All righty. Favorite movie or series?
Oh my gosh, favorite movie of all time is Coming to America.
Coming to America. Tacos or cheeseburgers?
Cheeseburgers.
Beach or the mountains?
The beach.
The beach. Me too. Digital reading or an actual book?
Digital reading now.
Oh, really?
I know.
I have an actual book.
But I buy all the books. So I
Okay.
have the physical book for every digital book I have.
Okay, but it's just easier to carry.
I
on.
listen
Yeah.
first or read first, and if I like the book, then I go and highlight the physical book because that's how I memorize.
Nice. Okay. Okay. I like that. Ice cream or froyo?
Ice cream, man.
Ice cream.
I mean, if you're gonna have gas, just have it. Just enjoy it. Get the good stuff.
That's true. Frozen yogurt's overrated in my opinion.
It really is. It's not that great.
All right. This one's been a contentious one today, so
Okay,
I hope
let's
you're
do
ready.
it.
Football or football?
Football.
Yeah. Right. That's what I think.
Hello.
Absolutely. And this one's kind of tough too.
Okay, I'm ready to go.
Moana or Aladdin?
Oh, I'm an Aladdin girl.
You got to sing the song.
A whole new world.
Wow, there you go. Yeah, awesome.
That's the right one?
That was actually Little Mermaid.
Damn it. Hold on. I did that. No, I'm about to sing Beauty and the Beast now. That's my word. I'm trying to run down every song, and I'm like, still not the right one.
You have a high schooler now. You know,
That's
you're beyond the
That's it.
Disney
Forget
days,
it. I'm not watching Disney anymore.
Kashana, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it. I definitely, what is the right song?
So Aladdin is 100% the song. Was it really? Oh my gosh.
I was like, really?
100% the song.
Wait, A Whole New World is Little Mermaid.
No.
For the record,
no, the Little Mermaid
Kashana was right. Justin was wrong.
No, Little Mermaid is, look at this stuff. Isn't it neat?
Yeah, you were 100% right.
Hello, I sang that in choir in high school. Like, I was like.
Summer Brock, VP of Development for the Pontiac Community Foundation, is in the next segment. Here she gives her take on getting rid of the nonsense in the donor-centric fundraising model. Summer, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How
Awesome.
are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's great to be back in person.
Yes. I'm hoping that my voice holds up because I did go to the iconic after party last night. So
did it get wild?
It got wild.
It
We
did.
left. Once people started getting in the water, we were like, okay, it's time
to go. We missed it. We missed the party. So you're one of the speakers here. Talk to us a little bit about your session and what you talked about.
So I had the pleasure of presenting with my friend Mavita Burris a session on community-centric fundraising and engaging your constituents through a lens of inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. You know, we just really dropped some gems on, how important it is to engage your community around not just your fundraising efforts, but how nonprofits just need to be moving to a more community-centric model of being informed by their community needs instead of deciding for people what services or things they need.
So aside from just like the actual like funding, it's what type of programs are needed is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but we really focused our presentation on fundraising and what fundraisers could do to sort of bring in the community and be a little bit more community-centric.
Yeah.
So it's really just about uplifting the values and the needs and hopes and desires of the people in your community. And it's not about not being donor-centric, but about not being donor-centric at the expense of your community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just prioritizing and leading with that community need.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. There's a lot of conversation around like placing the donor as the hero.
Yeah.
And I've written quite a bit actually about, I actually don't like that.
No,
I
don't like it, please.
I actually think it's the beneficiaries of the work that are the heroes, the individuals overcoming the odds, stacked against them.
Yes.
And I hope that we can just get rid of that language because I just think it's just totally wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's where the fundraising world is moving. I've been doing this work for more than 20 years. So all of the literature, all of the data, anything you read that's sort of evidence-based is all based in donor-centric fundraising. But what it doesn't take into account is that there is no data on community-centric fundraising. So when you look at, which works better, it's easy to say, oh, well, this is the proven model, right?
Yeah.
That we know this works, but we have to try something else to see if it can work as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's people are becoming more and more comfortable with moving towards that model because, when you say out loud that organizations that are built for the benefit of the community are not informed by the community, it doesn't even make sense, right?
Yeah, totally. Have you met with a lot of friction going down this path? Like, what are some of the challenges that you're overcoming?
Well, I think that before I got in my current role, I think that there was some friction, and I talked to fundraisers about it, and I even had internal friction myself, right, about moving 100% to this model, because I felt like the donor world wasn't quite ready for the community-centric model, right? We've been doing something the same way for so long, and to expect that just because we're ready to change, the donors are ready, to me would be assumptive. So my sort of suggestion and how I've chosen to do this work is to always be continually thinking about how I can be more community-centric in all of my fundraising tactics. So it's not a flip the switch and now I'm community-centric. It's more of a baby step progression towards becoming more of a community-centric, and I think that's the way we can bring our donors along with it.
Got it. And as the VP of Development at the Pontiac Community Foundation, tell us a little bit about the foundation and the work that it's doing in Pontiac.
Thank you for asking that. The Pontiac Community Foundation is so special to me. We're only a 4-year-old organization. In fact, this May, we're turning 4.
Oh, wow. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And at the Pontiac Community Foundation, we really are just building a brighter future for the residents of Pontiac, Michigan. And we do that work through our 4 focus areas, which are neighborhood investment, economic vitality, civic engagement, and racial equity. For our neighborhood investment, we're looking at community development, but from a more neighborhood resident focused perspective. We want to do projects that immediately impact residents, right? We're staying away from downtown development, those things that don't immediately. So most of our grant making lies in the space of supporting small business owners. We have the Center for Pontiac Entrepreneurship, which serves as a hub of resources for small business owners, education programs, access to technical assistance, grant funding, and then we support Pontiac nonprofits. We're a collaborative organization. We see supporting other nonprofits as part of our work. We want to see the whole community, be a better place. So we do not only grant making to other nonprofits, but educational opportunities. Last year was the second year we did what we call the Pontiac Impact Challenge, which was a crowdfunding competition amongst nonprofits. So we didn't just launch the competition and ask them to participate. We gave them the tools to do a successful crowdfunding campaign. I did training sessions and I created all this material for them, like a toolkit, so it could be really turnkey for them. And because to me, it's about teaching them to fish, right? I want them to be successful and be able to, incorporate these tactics into their overall fundraising and just be more successful in general. So we also do civic engagement. In Pontiac, we're really looking to build leadership and build the leadership culture. So we're doing that by providing resources to our community members about, those who are running for different political offices, information about getting out the vote, all of those great things. And then my most favorite focus area for us is racial equity, because many people don't know in our small little low-income community of Pontiac that our residents have a 20-year lower life expectancy than people who live just 3 miles away in the affluent suburban areas of Southeast Michigan. So we're really working to identify why this is the case and see what things we can implement or support to help rectify that and in turn improve quality of life for Pontiac residents.
Wow. Sounds like a very important mission.
Yes.
What inspired you to get involved with the foundation?
Well, I had the pleasure of being a founding board member for the Pontiac Community Foundation. Pontiac, Michigan is my home. I'm born and raised there. So for me to have sort of gone out in the world and gotten all this experience working for various large nonprofit organizations all over Southeast Michigan, it was like an honor and a privilege to be able to bring my skill set back home and uplift my own community through that work. So to me, it's absolute no-brainer. I also do some nonprofit consulting. My business is No Nonsense Fundraising, where I really focus on just trying to level the playing field with small nonprofits, because I've seen through my experience so much disparity, right, in resources and all types of things. So what's fortunate for me is that most of my clients are also Pontiac nonprofits. So I'm really in a privileged position to where in my day job, my side job, and even in my volunteer work, everything I do is in support of Pontiac.
Yeah, that's awesome. No Nonsense Fundraising. So what's the inspiration behind What's the nonsense that we need to get rid of out of fundraising?
Oh my God, there's so much nonsense, right? There's so many things that muddy the waters, and for me, the nonsense is not focusing on individual donors. And I've noticed that that's the trend in most of the clients that I have. Most small nonprofits, most nonprofits that serve low-income communities, or nonprofits that are led by Black and brown leaders have a heavy reliance and dependence on foundation grants to fund their missions. But my experience in working with large, sustainable nonprofits is that 80% of their funding base is individual supporters. So my whole purpose of creating that consulting firm is to teach small nonprofits to engage individuals. So that's a lot of the work I do.
That's
there.
awesome. I prior to starting Funraise, I was in the nonprofit space for 12 years. I was a fundraiser. And we, in the early days I was one of the founders of an organization called Liberty in North Korea, and we were heavily funded by one foundation. And we went back for our annual pitch to get the funding, and the foundation was like, hey, listen, like, if you can show us a pathway for decreasing sort of our gift to 50% of your revenue, then we'll actually give more, right? We'll double our gift. And it was the greatest gift they could have ever given us, because we went back and built out an individual donor program, and today it's like 90% of the organization's revenue.
Yes,
and
fantastic.
So I totally agree. I love your approach, and
I love that foundations approach.
Yeah,
I may have to steal that.
yeah, because it pushed us to, like, it became the most important thing for us to do. On the consulting side, and is there anything else on the fundraising? Like, do you get tactical with the organizations? Do you help develop fundraising programs?
Oh, yes. I help develop fundraising plans. Most of my clients are on sort of monthly retainer. I meet with them monthly. It's really about having an accountability partner. Because I don't do fundraising for them. That would be foolish. I'm teaching them to fish, right?
Exactly.
But it's really more about holding them accountable, giving them a thought partner, helping them think through some things, because typically they have a lot of the things they need to be successful. They just haven't organized it or structured it or prioritized it right. Like, for example, I have one client who was doing this email communication soliciting for support and was excluding their volunteers. And I was like, why would you not? I said, no, I'm all about not converting. I hate when people say, I'm trying to convert my volunteers to donors. But I'm like, it makes no sense that you're not asking them at all, right? So it's like this light bulb goes off for them, just for little things, So when I can just have a conversation and it helps them raise more money or just be more thoughtful about what they're doing, then it's a win for me.
That's awesome. I've been asking a lot of nonprofit professionals here, who've been in the industry for a decade plus, what are they excited about to see change in the industry over the next decade? Any thoughts around sort of things that you think just need to absolutely change?
I think we had some banter about it before we got started here today, and it's really, for me, the donor-centric model needs to be, like, just reimagined.
Just buried in the ground, right?
Yeah, and it's not because I don't want people to be donor-centric. You just have to look at that differently, and I think the way we say, the messages we put out, how we are sort of lifting up and putting the onus, or not the onus, but the spotlight on donors, I think is wrong. And for me, it's wrong because we need to be prioritizing communities, right? So it's not that we don't want the donors to support, or that their support is not important to us, but we need to be talking about it in a way that reflects the wholeness, the community of support that it takes to run these programs or to do different initiatives. And for me, this whole shift to a more of a community-centric model can help us stop perpetuating the injustices that nonprofits were created to eliminate these issues, right? Where when we look at them in these ways, a lot of times they're perpetuating the same systemic issues that we're trying to eliminate, right? So we, for me, the shift to community-centric fundraising takes the focus off the donor and puts the focus on your community. And I think that's really where we need to shift in nonprofits to help be more successful.
I don't know when it happened, but like we took gratitude, like showing gratitude to donors, and instead, put them as like the center of like the story, and thinking that was like showing gratitude, being thankful.
Because that's all we've been taught.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like anything that's printed or any book that anybody has wrote or all of the experts that we've sort of admired over the years, that's the model they teach. It's relationship-based, donor-centric fundraising. I love the relationship-based part of it, but to me it's about, and it's been working well for me and my organization, just having real, transparent conversations about the needs of my community.
Yeah.
In fact, it's led to unrestricted major gifts. Who would have thunk that?
Yeah.
Right? But that's because of the trust and because I'm being transparent and talking about the need. And when you do that, the donor is like, well, I want you to take this money and do what you need to do with it, right? So that's how to me, it's a part of building trust, and it's a necessary step we have to take.
Absolutely. I'd love to do a longer episode on this very topic, because I think we can go really deep on it and hopefully get more awareness.
I'd love to chat further.
Yeah. All right, I don't want to take too much more of your time, so we're going to go on to some rapid fire questions
let's do it.
to end it. So, movies or series?
Series.
What's your are you currently binging or have a favorite series?
I think I watched all of Ozarks. I like stalked the last of the 7 episodes.
Yeah.
And then I watched probably Bridgerton in one sitting. Like
Bridgerton. yeah. Season 2? You watched season 2?
I watched both. Yeah. It didn't take me long to get through either one.
Severance, if you like Ozark, because Ozark's kind of dark and like heavy.
God, I know, right?
Severance,
and then Bridgerton is like
it helps balance it out a little bit, right? Oh, that's funny. Okay, tacos or cheeseburgers? Tacos. Like, do you have a preference of like which protein?
Well, we do ground turkey at my house.
Okay.
We don't do a lot of ground beef, but tacos go over very, very well. We have to have them at least once a week.
At least on Tuesdays.
Yes.
Right? Beach or the mountains?
Beach.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. No brainer.
Digital reading or an actual book?
An actual book.
Hardcover or soft cover?
Hardcover.
Me too.
Right now, I'm reading the Finding Me, Viola Davis.
How is it?
Yeah, I tried to read it on the plane. Tears were rolling down my face. I was like, I have to read this in private. I can't read this on the plane.
Oh, wow.
Her story is so touching.
Football or football?
Football.
Okay.
Yes.
What's your team?
The Lions.
Yeah.
Even though they're the losers, but they're going to come back.
They're going to come back.
I'm still a super fan. I don't care how bad they are.
You go put a bet on them here. Maybe that'll help them out. All right, last one. Moana or Aladdin?
Aladdin.
Okay.
Yeah.
The original or the real, what is it? What's that called?
I don't know. I'd have to say the original.
Okay, the original?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm probably haven't seen the other version.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Summer, so much for joining us. I appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of the conference, and good luck on your pitch.
Thank you. I appreciate this.
In our final segment, Jarrett Ransom, aka the nonprofit nerd, gives her take on embracing and adopting disruption as a natural move toward nonprofit progress. Jarrett, welcome back to the podcast, I should say. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you. I am great. It's always good to be here with you.
It's great to be back in person.
Yes.
I assume you've been to conferences. This isn't your first in-person, is it? Or is it?
It is. I mean, not in my whole age of existence, but in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I have done, I host, MC, speak. So I've done some of that in smaller groups, but not anything of this magnitude.
Yeah. So what's your big takeaway from this year's AFP?
I'm also a first timer, so I've not done the AFP ICON. Next year, I hear it's going to be in New Orleans, so I'll see you there. It's been great. I love the energy. I love the buzz, the vibration. You can feel it in the showroom. The doors open at 9.
Yeah.
So really just seeing people, as you said, like in real life, like, oh my gosh, is this virtual reality? It's just been really cool to connect, reconnect, and see the advancements on the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of I want to spend a couple minutes talking about disruption.
Okay.
One of the things, and I don't want this to sound negative. It might sound negative, and if it does, it is, or whatever. Being here, there's lots of great things happening. Lots of great speakers, phenomenal speakers. But I don't know. I just have this sense that we need to take the next step in this industry, moving forward in more innovative ways, because the organizations here are solving the most important problems facing humanity today, like the biggest challenges. And I feel like we've just been stuck, right? Like the pie hasn't really grown that much. Incremental for sure, but not significantly. So I don't know, any like thoughts around disruption, anything that you're thinking about in that space?
You're preaching to the choir, Justin. I love it. I love disruption. I love innovation. For me, disruption isn't negative. I feel like it has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
So if you get too negative, I'll just start calling you Negative Nancy. But I think we're good. I do think that you're right. We're not taking it as far as we could and maybe as far as we should.
Yeah.
I see technology advancing all around us, and the sector, the nonprofit sector in particular, is slow to adopt. And maybe that's what you're referring to. We've talked a little bit at this conference about AI, artificial intelligence, which sounds scary, right? It's like, well, what is that? Is that Big Brother? What exactly is that? Where are these data points coming from? I agree wholeheartedly, and I like to push the envelope regardless of the conversation.
Yeah.
So really pushing the envelope to say, okay, what is next, and why the hell are we not doing it?
Yeah. Something we've been experimenting with at Funraise is a combination of machine learning and AI around sort of like the ask string on a giving form.
Yes.
And what we've analyzed millions of transactions and have created a model based on sort of like an individual's IP address, an individual's device that they're on, whether it's mobile, an Apple, Macintosh, all these things that are very easily knowable and need to know from a platform perspective. And there's lots of similarities in the type of device a user has, for instance, and the type of gift that they would make. And adjusting the ask string accordingly so that they don't give too little or get scared by too big of an ask amount. But it's been interesting, like nonprofits run into the fear of that not being something nonprofits should do, right? Even though e-commerce has been doing this for years.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so that's like the sort of like attitude I want us to, as a community, get rid of. If we want to scale, if we want to grow, we have to push the envelope on that's a small example, but things like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. We have to, even back in 2020, so many organizations hit the pause button. So many organizations were not comfortable asking, why do people give? Because they're asked.
Yeah.
So we have to ask. We have to ask a certain amount. We have to tell them where it's going, how it's helping the organization, helping the community. I'm also a huge proponent for, that sustainable donor group. So maybe a monthly donor, and maybe even going back to that monthly donor group to say, hey, might you consider an additional gift this month, right?
Yeah.
And that is something that might be $7. It might be $25. But those incremental asks and donations adding up, we know this, right?
Yeah.
Makes a huge amount.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
So why not do that? What is stopping us?
Yeah, I think status quo. That's the biggest sort of like competitor enemy to sort of innovation is status quo. We get comfortable. And we maybe even see like positive results, but are they the best results?
Yeah.
And I think, there's nonprofits aren't afforded enough opportunity to really kind of risk it and go for bigger results.
I wish that I knew this woman's name. She was a staff at Google, maybe even an executive, and she made a really big mistake, very costly mistake. And her supervisor said, that's okay. You learn from it.
Yeah.
Whoa, like mind blown. Imagine if we, the nonprofits, had the ability to afford to take risk and make mistakes and to learn from it, right?
Yep.
And so it really is about, okay, let's take it to the next level. Let's not settle for status quo.
Yeah.
Is our community, do they deserve status quo? No. Our constituents deserve status quo? No. So what is holding us back? That's a good question.
I think it's just the fear of failing. And, there's like a famous story at Facebook where Facebook used to operate under like move fast, break things.
Yeah.
And there was like a junior engineer that just came first day on the job, was like, took that to heart and was building, and they would like deploy daily to the platform. Engineer took down the platform. First time Facebook ever went down in its history.
Yes.
And, the individual was freaked out, thought that he was going to be fired right away for it. But instead, it caused Facebook to actually look at, well, why did this happen, right? What? Because it's problematic. It was inevitable this was going to happen soon. And this uncovered, something that was very problematic in the code base. And they're able to fix it, move on, and continue developing. And I think that's sort of the mentality we need is maybe not like necessarily break things, but we got to move fast, and we need to try things. And if we fail, we fail, but we got to move on from there.
You know, it's funny you say that. We have to move fast, because I've caught myself saying, hurry up and wait.
Huh.
Like, that has become a motto, a mantra, I believe, in the nonprofit sector. When I talk to other consultants, you know, in the work that we do nationally, it's, oh yeah, I sent in this proposal, or oh yeah, I talked to this board member, and I still haven't heard from them, and it's been 30 days. So if we're waiting to take any action, we are waiting to fail, I feel, right? Like, we're really, so how do we move faster? How do we, you know, take these risks, take these opportunities when they present themselves, regardless? It could be literally signing up with a client or taking down the website.
Yeah. I think like an easy step, and it's easier said than done, is removing the bureaucracy that exists in so many organizations.
Yeah.
You know, I think where a lot of things go to die is the board. You know, and I think that we need to really rethink the way that the board operates. Like, they're fiduciaries to the organization, but they should not be slowing it down. And I just see that time and time again. And I think that, you know, that's an area. And the bigger you get, it's harder, right? You need process. You need to operationalize things for sure. But the thing that I'm interested in, even with my own business, as we scale and grow, is how do we never lose what I call the startup edge, where like the agile, nimble, we can move fast, we can change our minds. It's okay to change our minds, and which kind of coincides with this, but it's maybe a little bit of a rabbit hole, is this idea that like the best idea wins. Right? Like, it's not like the most senior person in the room. It's not maybe even like the domain expert in the room.
Right.
It's literally the best idea.
The best idea. Well, I love that. I truly do, because to stay nimble, to stay agile, I feel that those organizations that did that over these last 3 years are the ones coming ahead, right? Like, they are sprinting across the finish line, which doesn't exist yet. We're still sprinting. And I think those, again, that pressed the pause button and said, we're going to sit this one out, they're losing, right? They're getting lapped by the people that are out there sprinting. And we do have to stay agile. What does that look like? Like, I also think, you know, the bureaucracies, you mentioned that. There's this great book, again, I cannot think of anything off the cuff, but it's delegate decisions up to a certain amount, right? It could be a dollar amount, a decision, whatever that looks like. Allow your staff, allow your executives, allow anyone to make that decision immediately, off the cuff, knowing that is in alignment with whatever has previously been designed. And I think once we do that, we trust our team, we trust ourselves, trust our board, we're able to take faster steps forward.
Totally agree with that. Shifting a little bit, what are you most excited about, whether it's project, campaign, new client for the rest of 2022?
Oh my gosh. So I started my business, Lucky 13. I'm in 13 years.
Oh, wow.
So 13
Congrats.
years ago, 2009. Thank you. So I'm a teenager, right? I have some breakouts. I have some moodiness, trying to figure out who it is that I want to be. So one of the things I'm launching this year, brand new, because I started my business, the Raven Group, I'm also known as the Nonprofit Nerd, as a grant writing consultant. That's really what was needed in 2009, really needed now, grant writing. I don't love it, which is interesting, right? I'm saying I don't love it, but I love coaching, training, and teaching other people how to do it. So I have started the grant writing business program, and I'm teaching other people, in particular women like myself, to become, you know, part of their community, submit grants, start, build, scale their own grant writing business specifically for nonprofits. So nonprofitnerdschool.com. I'm going to help you get to six figures if you want to do that. There are so many dollars out there to be awarded to nonprofits, and there's so many organizations seeking professional grant writers. So that's what I'm nerding out on.
That's awesome. And what was the inspiration to start that this year?
So my inspiration, honestly, is, you know, as we look at this great reshuffle, great recession, great resignation, whatever that looks like, I look always into my future. I want to retire at the age of 50, and I will tell you, I have 7 years to do that. You can do the math. You can do the math. So in 7 years, right, I really want to retire, live a nomadic life. I have this huge desire. You know, it used to be taboo to say, oh, I live down by the lake, you know, in a van. That's my dream. That's my retirement. So for me, I really want to empower other women. I want to teach them how to start, build, and scale a business like I have. 10 years ago, I was on food stamps, going to food banks, being the recipient of our community resources. Now I'm, thriving in a 6-figure business. So I want to teach other people how to do that. I just got back from Cabo San Lucas with my son for spring break. So these are the opportunities. I am so passionate about teaching other women how to do that. Yes, I accept men if that's, who is attracted and wants to do this as well. But I'm super passionate about, the nonprofit sector and really about nerding out.
Well, it's very exciting. I'm excited to kind of follow along and see how it goes. What was your favorite thing in Cabo? We love Cabo. I go there every summer.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, well, we're going to have to make that happen and connect. My favorite thing in Cabo, God, there were so many places. Well, we stayed at, it used to be the Welk Resort, which is beautiful. There's the food, like the tacos. I live in Phoenix, so we get a lot of tacos anyway. Yeah. We, of course, did the Arch. We did that beautiful tour.
Did you hit the office?
Yes, ate at the office.
It's all right, right?
Yes, it is fun. Yeah, they're expensive margaritas, but they're worth it.
We were we're just there in February, and I was with our family. I have 4 kids and a couple other families as well. And we were sitting out there on the beach. And did the Rambo guy come up to you with the tequila shots?
No.
So he comes up to our table. He's like fully dressed like Rambo. He's got the bandana on and everything.
Wow.
And he comes behind me and he grabs my head, pulls it down. He's about to pour a shot in. And my daughter across from me, she's 7. She just freaks out and starts like bawling and crying.
No.
The whole restaurant looks at us. It was so embarrassing. It was so funny.
But did you take the shot?
I took the shot. I took the shot.
Yes.
I had to take the shot.
You got to
take the shot. And then he went up to her and gave her a lemon juice shot. It was so funny.
Oh, that's great. To let her know, it's safe.
Yeah,
Daddy's
it's fine. Yeah, not going to hurt him. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Right.
All right, let's do some rapid fire questions as we wrap this up. There's no wrong or right answer.
Good.
So, movies or series?
Oh, series.
What are you actually watching or binging a series?
Right now, I don't think I am, but Shameless, that's a good one.
Shameless,
on
okay.
Netflix.
On Netflix,
yeah.
Okay.
It is. It makes you feel really good about your life.
Nice. I can use that. I'm currently watching Severance, and it's very dark. It's very dark. So maybe I need to.
Would you recommend it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an amazing.
And where
show.
would I find it?
I think it's HBO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Severance.
Yeah. Severance. Tacos or cheeseburgers?
Tacos. Hello,
yeah.
Cabo.
Yeah, there you
Phoenix.
go. Beach or the mountains?
Mountains.
Okay.
Yeah.
You like the cold?
I just love nature.
Okay.
I love nature. I just bought a condo in Park City, Utah.
Oh, I was just there last week.
Oh my gosh. Well, next time,
amazing.
Let me host you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be spending my summers there.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. We were there. It was it snowed the last 2 days.
It's snowing today or yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Ice cream or froyo?
Ice cream. Rocky Road.
We're like the same. That is my favorite ice cream too. That's amazing. Football or football?
Football.
Football. Okay,
yeah.
so soccer. Yeah.
Always soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a competitive soccer player actually.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, defense.
Okay. Nice.
Sweeper.
Nice. All right, last one. Moana or Aladdin?
Oh, Aladdin.
Aladdin. Okay.
Yeah, I like Aladdin.
Yeah.
Especially the monkey.
What's his name again? Abu?
Abu.
Yeah.
Good job. You do have kids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 4 of them. Too many. No,
4. Yeah. 4 too many.
Awesome. Well, Jared, thank you so much for stopping by. This was fun as always, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks for listening to this episode of Nonstop Nonprofit. This podcast is brought to you by your friends at Funraise, nonprofit fundraising software built by nonprofit people. If you'd like to continue the conversation, find me on LinkedIn or text me at 562-242-8160. And don't forget to get your next episode the second it hits the internets. Go to nonstopnonprofitpodcast.com and sign up for email notifications today. See you next time.